You are 23, and you are counting the last $40 you own on a bus bench off Fremont Street. You came here with a duffel bag and a rumor that the Silver Wheel Casino, a rundown joint a few blocks off the main drag, was hiring floor staff. And they don't ask questions about gaps in a resume. You have gaps. Big ones. A father who drank the family restaurant into bankruptcy. A mother who worked 3 jobs and still lost the house. You grew up watching people who worked hard get nothing, and people who cut corners get everything. You walk into the Silver Wheel with one rule you set for yourself on that bus bench. Whatever happens in there, you don't become the kind of person your father was. You don't take the easy money that ruins other people. You have no idea yet that this rule is going to make you one of the richest men in Las Vegas. And you have no idea it's also going to put a gun on a table in front of you 9 years from now. The Silver Wheel hires you as a card dealer. Minimum wage, cash tips, 6-day weeks. You learn fast that a casino floor is not what the movies show you. It's not glamour, it's math. Every game on that floor is built so the house wins over time. The house edge on blackjack is small. On slots, it's brutal. On roulette, it depends which wheel. You learn every number by heart because the pit boss tells you something in your second week that you never forget. You don't need to cheat anybody in here. The math already cheats them. Your job is to make sure nobody else does the cheating for you. That sentence becomes your compass. The first year almost breaks you. Rent on a studio off Boulder Highway eats half your paycheck. The rest goes to your mother because she's still paying off medical bills from your father's last year of drinking. You eat one real meal a day. Instant noodles for breakfast, a gas station burrito for dinner, and on the nights you can't afford either. You drink water and go to bed early so you don't have to feel your stomach. You work the graveyard shift most weeks because it pays $1 more an hour. That means 4 hours of sleep, sometimes 3, taken in a chair with the blinds shut against the Vegas sun. Your hands start shaking by month 4. Not from anything serious, just tired, just hungry, just 23 and running on fumes. The cruelest part of the job is the buffet. Every casino has one, and the Silver Wheel's isn't fancy, but to you, it looks like heaven. Prime rib on Fridays, a soft serve machine, bread rolls stacked in a basket, free if you're a guest. You deal cards 8 feet away from that buffet for 6 hours a shift, and you're not allowed to touch it, and you couldn't afford it anyway. You watch tourists leave half a plate of prime rib and walk away. Some nights, that's the hardest part of the whole job. Your mother calls you in March. She's short on her light bill, $40 short, and you don't have it. You don't have $40. You tell her you'll figure something out, and you sell the one good jacket you own to a pawn shop on Charleston for $35. You borrow the rest from a dealer named Marcus, who doesn't ask when you'll pay him back. You wire it to her that night. You don't tell her where it came from. Something changes in month 7. A regular tips you $100 on a slow Tuesday because you talked him through a bad losing streak instead of just dealing the cards. You buy real groceries that week for the first time since you started. Eggs, bread, a rotisserie chicken. By the 9th month, you become the dealer regulars ask for by name. You're fast, you're fair, and you remember their kids' names. Within a year, you're a pit boss. You catch 2 dealers skimming chips, and you report both of them. One of them is your friend. Word gets around that you're straight. In an industry full of people who aren't, straight is rare, and rare gets noticed. The owner of the Silver Wheel, a tired man named Gerald Cho, who's been running the place since 1994, calls you into his office. He has lung cancer. He tells you he's been watching you for 2 years, and he doesn't have a son. He doesn't trust anybody else on that floor to keep this place honest after he's gone. He offers to sell you 30% of the casino. No money down. You pay him back out of future profits. You say yes before he finishes the sentence. Running a casino, even 30% of one, means you're suddenly in rooms you were never in before. Rooms with state gaming board inspectors. Rooms with liquor distributors who want kickbacks for priority delivery. Rooms with a man named Dwayne Petrosky, who owns 3 casinos on the Strip and offers to buy out your stake for triple what it's worth. You say no. He asks why. You tell him it's not for sale. Petrosky doesn't like no. 2 months later, health inspectors show up at the Silver Wheel 3 times in 1 month. Somebody tipped them off with false complaints. You know exactly who. You could retaliate. You could hire the same kind of people Petrosky hires. Instead, you make every single inspection spotless. You over-comply. You put in security cameras before the state even requires them. You make the Silver Wheel the cleanest casino in Clark County on purpose, so nobody can ever touch you with a complaint again. It works. The inspections stop mattering because you have nothing to hide. By year 3, Gerald passes away peacefully, and his will leaves you the rest of his shares. You are 30 years old, and you own a casino outright. That's where it gets dangerous. Now you have real money moving through your doors, and real money attracts real predators. A man in an expensive suit sits down at your private high-limit room one Thursday night. He doesn't gamble much. He loses on purpose, small amounts, over and over, across several nights. Then he asks for a private meeting. He wants to invest $3 million in your casino. Cash. No paperwork trail he wants documented. You know exactly what this is. This is money laundering, dressed up as investment, and every casino owner in this city has been offered this exact deal at least once. $3 million would let you buy the empty lot next door and double your floor space. It would let you finally pay off Gerald's family completely. It would change your life overnight. You think about your father, about the restaurant he lost because he took one shortcut, borrowed money from the wrong people, and spent the rest of his life paying for it in ways that weren't just financial. You tell the man in the suit no. You tell him if he tries this again, you'll report him to the gaming control board yourself. He leaves. He doesn't come back. 6 weeks later, you find out that same man tried the same offer at a competitor's casino on the north end of the Strip. That casino took the deal. 18 months after that, the Gaming Control Board raided it, shut it down, seized the owner's license permanently, and the owner is now in federal court. You realize how close you came to being him. The only difference between you and a ruined man was one decision, made on instinct, based on a rule from a bus bench. You expand. Slowly, and only with money you can prove came from the tables. You buy the lot next door. You build a 100-room hotel tower on top of the Silver Wheel. You rename the whole property Cascade Peak Casino and Resort. Silver Wheel sounds like a dive bar, and you're not running a dive bar anymore. You hire people other casinos won't hire. Ex-cons who did their time and can't get a straight interview anywhere else. Single mothers who need shift flexibility. You pay above minimum wage for every position on the floor because you remember exactly what it felt like to count $40 on a bench. Your reputation becomes your marketing. Local news does a story on the casino owner who turned down mob money and built clean instead. Tourists start requesting Cascade Peak by name because they've heard the games are fair and the staff are treated well. You are proof that in an industry famous for corruption, honesty is not just possible, it's profitable. By year 7, Cascade Peak is pulling in $40 million a year. You are, by any measure, wealthy beyond what the kid on that bus bench could have imagined. Then Petrosky comes back. He's older now, meaner, losing market share to you every quarter. And he's done playing fair. He sends word through a contact that he wants to meet, alone, at a warehouse out past the airport. You go, because ignoring him has never worked. You'd rather face this head-on than wait for it to come to you. He's not alone. There are 2 other men with him, and there's a gun on the table between you. A contract sits next to the gun. Your name is already typed on the signature line. Half of market value, a deadline of tonight, and the threat sitting underneath all of it without needing to be said out loud. A fabricated skimming investigation, already paid for, ready to open Monday morning whether you're guilty or not. You don't touch the contract. You do the math instead, the same way you learned to on the floor 9 years ago. Sign, and you keep your life and lose everything you built. Don't sign, and you're betting that Petrosky's patience runs out before his nerve does. You think about the buffet you couldn't afford your first year. The $40 you didn't have for your mother's light bill. Every year since then spent making sure nobody who worked for you would ever sit where you used to sit. None of that leaves your face. You keep it flat, the same flat expression you learned dealing blackjack to drunks who wanted to see you rattle. You slide the contract back across the table, unsigned. You tap your jacket pocket once, just enough for him to notice, and let him draw his own conclusion about what's recording and where it's already being sent. It's a bluff. There is no recorder. But you've spent 9 years building a paper trail so clean that even a real investigation would have nothing to grab onto. That fact is doing more work in this room than any phone ever could. Petrosky studies you for a long moment. Men like him have survived 20 years on the strip by knowing exactly which fights are worth finishing. Something about the stillness in your face doesn't read as a bluff. That's the entire bet. Nobody moves for a full minute. Then he pulls the contract back, folds it once, and nods at the 2 men behind him. He doesn't say much on his way out. He doesn't need to. You don't find out whether your legs are shaking from fear or adrenaline until you're already back in your car. You don't go to the police that night. You know exactly what happens to a man who walks into a station with a story about a gun and no proof. Instead, you build a paper trail. The warehouse has a parking lot, and the parking lot has a gas station across the street with a camera pointed at the pumps. It catches the lot in the corner of its frame. You remember the timestamp. You remember the plate on Petrosky's car because you've seen it valet parked at his casino 100 times. The next morning, you request the footage as a customer, citing a minor fender bender that never happened. The gas station hands it over without asking questions. You sit on it for 3 weeks. You already know the gaming control board has an open file on Petrosky. You hand the board a documented, time-stamped account of an attempted extortion, backed by footage placing his car at an unmarked warehouse. You don't call it an accusation. You call it a formal complaint, filed the same way you filed every health inspection request and every liquor license renewal for a decade. Cleanly, on the record, with your name attached. That's the part that makes it land. A man with your reputation doesn't file false reports. The board knows it, and Petrosky's lawyers know it too. And by the time they think to argue otherwise, the footage and the timeline have already done the arguing for you. 2 months later, the Laughlin case breaks wide open. Your complaint becomes the thread investigators use to tie his casinos together into a single pattern instead of isolated incidents. He loses his gaming license before the year is out. You didn't put a gun on a table. You didn't need to. You just made sure that when the truth finally caught up with him, there was nowhere left for him to hide. Cascade Peak turns 10 years old, the same year you turn 32. You throw the anniversary party right there on the casino floor, the same floor you dealt cards on the week you arrived with $40. Gerald's daughter, who you kept on payroll as a courtesy consultant because her father asked you to look after her, gives a toast. She says her dad always told her he sold the casino to the one person in this city who'd never sell his soul with it. You stand at the edge of that floor, watching dealers you personally trained, a security system you paid for before the law required it. A room full of people who kept their jobs through 2 recessions because you refused to lay anyone off to protect a quarterly number. Out the window behind them, the strip lights up the sky, and your name is on one of those lights now. You think about your father one more time, and for the first time in years, it doesn't hurt. It just reminds you why you built it this way. If you'd been the one on that bus bench with $40 left, would you have kept the same rule this long? Or would the first 6-figure offer have changed your mind? Drop your honest answer in the comments. Subscribe and stay tuned if you haven't already.